Hi guys, in today's video I'm going to be talking about some of the things that I've learned in my journey investing and some of the things that you might want to avoid if you're starting out anew. I've been investing since about 2016, but I never really took it seriously until my first daughter was born in 2018. And that was because I suddenly had this human being to look after. It wasn't just me saving random amounts of money with no clear plan or structure or really like a clue about why I'm even saving the money. But once a little human came along, it was time for me to really take things seriously, because now I have a responsibility for the next 18, possibly 20, maybe even 30 years. And I was trying to make sure that I set up my daughter for success. So the first thing that I did was open up a savings account for her. And I had a choice of choosing between a stocks and shares ISA or a cash ISA. Now at the time in 2018, interest rates were near zero, so there was no point in putting money into a cash ISA for her. So what I did was I put the money into a junior stocks and shares ISA for her. So with the junior ISA, the initial lump sum that I put in was around £500, and that was a mixture of money from grandparents and then a little bit of money from us. So she had an opening balance of about £500. So where did I put the money? So I chose to use Hargreaves Lansdown for my children's junior ISAs, and the reason I did that was because I already had a stocks and shares ISA with Hargreaves Lansdown, and it was just easier for me to do that. Now, I will get into some of the things that I don't like about Hargreaves Lansdown as a choice for a junior ISA, but that will come in a different video. So this is all I'm going to talk about in this video is my daughter's junior ISA. So at the moment she has £8,487.27. So in total I've invested around, do quick maths, just over £7,100. The total gain is around 18%, as you can see here, so £1,300 roughly. And you can see that I have money in various different pots. Now for myself, I don't typically invest in individual stocks, and that's because they tend to be quite risky. I'm fairly risk averse, and for me, it's just not the right situation for me. However, because it is for my daughter, and I know that she has 18 plus years, well, actually less than 18, like about 12 years left until she's able to access this ISA, I know that even if I made some risky decisions, things would eventually even themselves out, because typically you have ups and downs, and eventually they sort of even out. Now, it's possible entirely that all the money that I've invested in some of these individual stocks will be lost, but them's the breaks, right? Okay, so as you can see in the top one, I put money into Aberdeen Emerging Markets Equity Enhanced Index. And there were various reasons for that. I'm not going to go into it, but basically I'm just showing you where I have invested. Okay, so then with all of these, you do have the option to look at the prospectus. So you'll see here, you've got the research section, then you'll see what's in the top 10, and you'll see here are the top holdings here. And most of these are Asian stocks. So the biggest one that you might recognize will be Alibaba, Tencent, Samsung, etc. And then you will see here what the charges are at an annual charge of 1.32. I probably should divest out of this because 1.32 is still quite a lot for me, but it has done reasonably well, as you can see here. So at about 23% gain. And then Aegon Ethical Equity Fund and Artemis Corporate Bond. Now, I tried to diversify a little bit between bonds and equities or individual stocks. But yeah, there was a reason why I chose this one. I now can't remember why. Okay, and then I chose Burberry, and unfortunately Burberry, I think they changed CEO and the stock has not really recovered since then. And ITV, as you know, if you're based in the UK, you will have seen that ITV has had quite a turbulent couple of years, particularly with some of their stars and some of their, the ethics behind production. So that has impacted ITV, and that's why you see a minus sign there. The thing to note with Hargreaves Lansdown though is that when you're buying individual stocks, it's actually quite expensive. It's about £11, it's about £10, £11. I will check at the end of this video. But so if you basically pay, if you buy £100 worth of if you buy, say, £100 worth of Burberry, then you'll be paying £10 on top. So basically you need the whole thing to appreciate by about 10% in order to make your £10 charge for investing or for making the trade back, if that makes any sense. Okay, and then some of the others that I personally really quite like is the Legal & General European Index and the Legal & General International Index. And again, if you have a look, you'll be able to see what are the individual stocks that make up all of this. So you've got some of these look like quite a mixture of, these look like mostly German stocks, but anyway, as always. And then you go to some of the other ones. So Man Group, I think, is a really good one. RS Renishaw, and again, Scottish Mortgage Investment Trust, that is a fund. Renishaw, I believe, if I remember correctly, they make boxes and things like that, packaging. Let me just have a look. What do they do? So in here, you'll be able to see what they do. So it's measuring systems and production systems, medical devices. Okay. So the reason why I invested in them would have been during the pandemic. I'm thinking that, you know, this looks like a good stock. Again, I am not an expert, so obviously I didn't make the right choice there. Scottish Mortgage Investment Company, that's another good fund to have. It's quite expensive to hold, I would say. Let's go in and have a look at what the charges are. Let's have a look what the charges are. Right, charges 1.5, 4, that's quite a lot, but they have in the past previously performed really well, and you'll see that their top holdings is in Nvidia. Fun story is, I did actually invest in Nvidia, and the volatility of the stock just made me too nervous, and I sold it. And now I wish I hadn't, obviously, because now it's the world's most valuable company. But anyway, and then let's go to have a look at the rest of it. And yeah, so then I invested in Vanguard, etc. This is the investment portfolio for my daughter. And what have I learned through investing for her in particular is investing in individual stocks is really quite risky. So you have to really have the view that you're investing for the long term, and you really should not be looking at the stock on a regular basis. And also you need to do quite a bit of homework in order to make the right stock pick. There are people whose entire jobs this is to pick the right stocks for funds or to pick the right stocks for individuals who they are managing their wealth for. And those guys are going to be way more successful at this than you, the layperson who doesn't really have that much experience. They also have access to financial modeling systems that will be able to tell them whether or not this is the right stock to buy. So personally, if you're an individual, if you're going to be investing in individual stocks, then just be prepared to potentially make a loss. And you have to have the appetite and the risk to be able to handle that. I would always say, if you're going to invest, make sure that you only invest what you can afford to lose. Because if you basically decide to, bet all on black and you fail, well, you're in a world of hurt. So I really wouldn't recommend that. So personally for me, I tend to stick to funds that I have seen have really good performance and typically are recommended by other people within the financial services industry. And the thing I like about Hargreaves Lansdown is that they will recommend certain funds to you, and they would have done quite a lot of the research. So you get a good amount of funds that you can basically choose because they have kind of pre-selected them for you. And then you do your additional research and choose the right funds that suit whatever it is that you're trying to achieve. So the main thing that I've learned with investing is don't invest in individual stocks or equities unless you are prepared to lose all that money. If you are going to invest in individual stocks, then be prepared to ride it out for at least 5 years and really don't keep checking the app and getting yourself worked up when you see the stock price go up and then down and then up and down. If you can't handle that level of volatility, then I wouldn't recommend that for you. I know I've learned my lesson where I have in the past invested in individual stocks. I've done that through Trading 212, and that's just because with Trading 212 you can buy fractional shares. And again, I don't want to make this video too long, but Trading 212 is just generally cheaper as an app to manage your money versus Hargreaves Lansdown. But the advantage of Hargreaves Lansdown is that I just feel that they have way more, there's a lot more research, there's more information for you to dig into to understand a little bit about how a stock or a fund has performed. To me, it's not always about the cheapest. So anyway, with Trading 212, I was testing out buying individual stocks. See, I've made a massive loss, and see, more or less I've lost over £1,000, but I could afford to lose the £1,000. So for me, it was a risk worth taking, and it's something that has taught me that don't buy individual stocks unless you are prepared to lose the money and can afford to lose the money, right? And also, I'm holding on to these. I'm going to wait for at least 5 years until hopefully the stock climbs back up, because typically when a stock does really well, it does tend to equalize itself over 5 years, but sometimes it doesn't. So that's another thing to be aware of and to be prepared for. The second lesson that I've learned is that investing in funds is way less riskier than investing in equities or individual stocks. And that is because you spread your risk. The fund manager's job is to rebalance the portfolio. So if some of these stocks within the fund are not performing well, they will swap them out, or they will, reduce their position, i.e. like, let's say if it makes up 10% of the holding, then they'll reduce it to like 8, 5 or whatever. So let somebody else do that research for you. If you want to just have passive investment, this is the right way to go. And third lesson is, in a fund, always look at what the charges are. So personally for me, I don't really like paying much more than 0.5%, but sometimes I will pay more than 0.5% because I might think that the fund is well managed and there are companies in there that I think I'd want to have some exposure to. But again, you could have exposure to those funds through a different fund. So for example, with Scottish Mortgage, I pay 1.52 or 1.54, but I could have exposure to those very same companies through another investment fund. So just bear that in mind. Make sure you check the management charges for each one of your funds. So that's it. Those are the things that I've learned as lessons. There's plenty more things that I've learned, and I will share them along the way. But if you have any questions, then please drop them in the comment box and I will be sure to reply. Thanks for watching. Bye.